Want to get into any music school you want? These hidden strategies will practically guarantee your acceptance. I use them to get into a ton of the top music programs in the country without having any formal training. Many of my much more talented friends missed out on their dream school because they missed these basic audition prep tips that could have got them in the first try. I'm Carlos. I'm a recent music school grad with a 4.0 GPA and heading to my master's with multiple scholarships based on my auditions. Now stick around to get all of the inside tips that can make all the difference. Whether you want to get into Juilliard or Berklee, why do we want to optimize our audition preparation? A majority of prospective music students don't realize the power of a good audition. There is so much more to a great audition other than your performance on your main instrument or voice, and it has nothing to do about having good grades. And these are things that you might have never considered before. Being on the inside of my own music school's admissions process, the faculty will literally circle your scholarship amount based on the quality of your performance during your audition. It's like they're literally giving you free money if you prepare for your audition properly. I personally struggled with the audition process because I was going into it completely alone and I had zero guidance. A lot of my friends actually had private lessons teachers that would help them prepare the repertoire and help them practice performing for their auditions. They would even help them curate a great list of schools to apply to. I didn't have any of that. In fact, my entire preparation was just playing my pieces over and over again alone in my room with zero feedback. And the sad part is that I didn't get into all the programs I applied to because I flubbed some of the auditions. But it didn't have to be that way, and I'm gonna share exactly where I went wrong. Most people think that the key factor to getting into your dream music school is having a killer performance on your main instrument or voice. It's only one piece of the puzzle, and this is actually game-changing information, knowing that you don't have to be some musical prodigy to get in. Take a look at any of the music school programs that you want to apply for. On their website, it lists out valuable information that you need to know for your audition. Now, depending on the school, there might be a pre-screening phase of the audition process, which is actually a part of the process before your actual audition, where they screen out a ton of candidates before you can even get an audition slot. And you'll actually see this from more prestigious programs who get a high volume of applicants every year. And take a look at the submission deadline for the pre-screening portion. It's usually in December. Mark it on your calendar. Now hopefully you have 6 months to a year of pre-preparation before that to get a great pre-screening a video in. And most of these are videos, so you're actually just gonna send them a recording of you playing your set or a specific piece before you get that audition slot. If there's one thing that I really would have changed back 4 years ago when I was applying to schools, was choosing the right repertoire for me. Now, while most schools are very specific on the types of repertoire that you have to choose, make sure that it's actually performable by you and you can successfully play through it. It doesn't have to be the most difficult piece that will just wow the faculty panel. It has to be able to be performed successfully in performance by you. And I did not take this into account when I was preparing for auditions. Now, hopefully you have a backlog of previous repertoire that you can just pull out and just prepare those for the next audition so you don't have to relearn a brand new piece. And preparing an older piece of repertoire actually allows you to perform it to an even higher level because you already have all of the previous information that you studied way back then. And you can just take that information and just take it up a notch. And you'd be surprised how many people show up to their audition without knowing the repertoire requirements for the audition. Like the website clearly says to prepare a Bach piece, and they don't come with a Bach piece because they didn't check the website. I know it's a simple tip, but you have to verify and check what kind of repertoire you need to prepare. I would also warn against choosing really popular or common pieces. I barely did any research when I chose my repertoire for my music school auditions. I just Googled easy classical piano piece and just chose the first thing that showed up because I had no idea what the good piano repertoire was, mainly because I had no formal training in piano beforehand. And this is a huge red flag for the faculty panel, and it just shows you have done zero research into choosing good repertoire. Now, for my piano audition, one of the pieces I chose was a Mozart piece that sounds like this. Everyone knows it, and that's exactly the problem. When I inevitably made a mistake, everyone knew where that mistake was because it was such a common piece. There are so many pieces out there that aren't cliche and are a bit lesser known, but are in the same period or genre that is required. Another pro tip is to make sure that the pieces that you're preparing, the set of pieces for your auditions, fit the requirements of multiple programs, so you don't have to prepare a specific piece for just one school. It's much more efficient to just prepare the same few pieces for all of your schools, if that's possible. That brings me to an important question. How many schools should you be auditioning for? If I were to rewind the clock, I would actually apply to much more programs than I originally did. Doing this allows you to have many more options. Even if you're rejected from a majority of them, you still have plenty of options to choose from. I also didn't apply to any big state schools, which would have saved me thousands of dollars on in-state tuition as well as federal aid. So don't just apply to conservatories and private schools. You want a good, healthy mix of multiple different school types. But after asking a lot of my music friends as well as my experience through applying to grad schools, I'd say 5 to 10 is the sweet spot. As much as I highlight elite schools like Juilliard and Berklee, those are out of the reach of the majority of people. It's okay to have dream schools, and that's totally fine, but you need to have a lot of safety schools just in case that dream doesn't pan out. I did have a few dream schools. One of them was the Boston Conservatory, which is now affiliated with the Berklee School of Music in Boston. And I actually got in for my undergrad, and it was much to my disbelief because I thought that I could not get into such an elite program, but I just put everything I got into the audition and application, and what do you know, I got in. So don't discount the idea of having a reach school. It's very important to have one, but don't let that be the majority of your application portfolio. Look at programs that you can realistically get into. You can save a lot of money by staying at home and commuting to a local school or staying a few hours away in your current state, and that allows you to take advantage of in-state tuition, which is significantly less than moving out of state. And make sure that whatever school you go to is connected to a metropolitan area that has a good music scene. Also, by applying to local schools in your own state, traveling for your auditions is going to be much less of a hassle and will save you a ton of money on airfare and lodging. But of course, it's okay to have a few schools that are far away because it really depends on where you're currently living. Okay, once you selected your 5 to 10 schools, you research their audition requirements and deadlines, you've chosen unique repertoire that you can successfully perform, you can finally begin practicing for your upcoming auditions. Now, a lot of people ask me this: what's the cheat code that will just eliminate stage fright when you're at your audition? So you know how you can comfortably play a really difficult technical passage while you're in the comfort of your home, but the moment that someone watches you play or you're in a different environment, you just completely flub the same exact passage. This is because you need to practice the art of performing in front of other people, which is a skill by itself. The faculty panel in this giant hall with air conditioning up to the max, they're just with their clipboards writing down your every mistake, criticizing you. They're professionals in your unique instrument. They all have their doctorates. It's a very, very stressful and intimidating situation. So you have to practice performing way before your audition actually happens. So what practicing performing means is that you can go play your rep and your whole set in front of your friends, family, and other musical peers, and you run through the set nonstop. You pretend and imagine and visualize that you're actually in your audition. Don't stop for any mistakes. Bow before and after your performance, and just pretend and envision what it's like to be in a performance mindset. You'd be surprised that the more and more you do this, the less stage fright you get performing anywhere. This is not just for your audition. This is when you get accepted to your school and you have to play in front of your entire studio. Just performing in front of people each time and every single time will just gradually make you so much better at performing publicly. And for myself, I definitely was not doing this before my audition, so that's why I didn't get into some of my schools, because I was nervous when I got on stage and actually had a few memory slips and technical issues pop up because I didn't have the skill of performing in front of others. If you can, don't even warm up sometimes. Just walk up to your instrument and just start the most difficult part of your set and just see where those trouble spots are so you can diagnose them later in your real focused practice sessions. Now, like I mentioned before, some of the pre-screening and even some of the auditions are done completely virtual, meaning you can just record them as many times as you want in the comfort of your home. This has a ton of obvious advantages. Now just make sure to dress professionally even while you're recording at home. Take a look at your camera and make sure you clear any clutter around the frame that you're recording in. It's also important to make sure that you are well lit. Audio quality is actually much more important than the video quality. One of the top things I recommend for any musician is picking up a Zoom recorder, which is a really high quality handheld recorder that takes way better audio recordings than your phone ever will. If you're recording on an electronic instrument like a digital keyboard, just plug it in straight to your computer so you can eliminate any of the background noises in your noisy household. And it's important to use a really high quality sound library like Modart's Piano Tech, which they just sent over to me. I've actually been using Modart's collection for a really long time for not just piano music, but also simulating the sounds of pipe organs and other keyboard instruments. I asked them to send me over their Piano Tech Pro Pack, which includes a ton of tweaks and customizations you can make to your sound. And if your Audition allows it, using a recording straight into your computer with high quality samples like Modart's will just completely eliminate any of your competition because of just the quality and making that stand out over any of the other applicants. Just to show you how good these sounds, take a listen to this sample that I recorded. And this is a great option if you have a digital instrument like a keyboard, and you can eliminate any of the noisy sounds that are happening in your room, as well as avoiding the cost of those really expensive audio recorders. You can wow whoever's watching your audition video with having great sound samples, so check them out down below if you're interested.
You've got mail.
Oh, what's this? Oh, I just got an email from that East Coast Conservatory with a ridiculous tuition. It says, congratulations for moving on to the audition round. Also, it says, destroy that like button to get more music school tips. Congratulations, if you passed your pre-screen, you'll get a slot to audition in the springtime. And this is usually on campus. Make sure to plan your trip way ahead of time and make sure you have enough buffer time before your audition slot to warm up. Now, I just advise against warming up too much. You don't want to overdo it and tire yourself out. I made the mistake at one of my Chicago auditions for showing up 2 hours before my audition and just completely drilling my set over and over again, doing 30-minute warm-ups to make sure that I was completely ready to go. And what do you know, I didn't make it in. Just like the virtual audition, make sure to dress professionally, is more so important in person, and have a sense of confidence as you conduct yourself. Now, this goes a long way to impress the faculty panel. Just don't confuse this with being arrogant or cocky. Now, if you've practiced performing multiple times before your actual audition, the actual performance there is not going to be so bad. Don't overthink it. Don't be so serious if you slip up a little bit. It's totally fine. Just have fun while you're up there. They will be able to tell if you're a nervous wreck on stage. Now, just remember that the faculty isn't expecting perfection. They know that you're going there to improve your craft as a musician and to get better. So don't worry about making like one mistake here and there. Another side note, most schools only have a limited number of spots they can give out every year, so don't feel bad if you don't get accepted. Sometimes it just comes down to logistics. At least that's what I like to tell myself. Even if you think you have a killer audition, sometimes things just don't work out. And that's okay. Anyways, some schools will interview you either before or after your audition. They're gonna ask you general questions about your career aspirations, your repertoire, and any background information about yourself. And they're also gonna bounce it back to you and you can ask them questions about their program. Now, make sure to actually have questions in your back pocket. It looks really bad if you don't have any questions to ask them. And make sure that these are not surface level questions that are easily searchable on the internet. Make sure that they are in-depth and actually would be useful to you if you were to be accepted. This shows that you came well prepared and their perception of you is going to be way higher. Additionally, some programs will have you take a short music theory proficiency test before or after the audition. And this usually doesn't have any influence on the admissions process, but it just gives them an idea of where you're at. And make sure to review some basic music theory concepts, which are free online. Some schools will actually have you shadow classes, play in their ensembles during the same audition day, so make sure to have fun and just explore what campus life is like. So if I were to redo my audition process 4 years ago, here's what I would have done differently. I would have planned out my audition months ahead of time. I would have chosen more unique and diverse repertoire that fit my current abilities. I would have practiced performing a ton in front of others, and I would have chosen more schools in my state that would have made travel much less of a headache. So now you have the tools to succeed at any music audition that comes your way. Leave any of your questions down below for a community of musicians to help you out. Now, one of the things that I would be really nervous about is missing that page turn during my audition, which usually happens at the worst spot, or realizing that I left my really heavy music binder at my house. And this has been completely solved by having an iPad as a musician. If you've been considering picking up an iPad for your music school auditions because you see everyone carrying them around, then check this video out next. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you there.